The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 554. Happy birthday, Mr. Somich!
Hey, a little birthday show, huzzah! It's not only my birthday. You just had a birthday as well, my man. So happy birthday to you too, Mr. Magic.
Thank you. Yeah, it was on Father's Day, so happy belated Father's Day to you as well. And I'm rocking, not just because it's really hot out and I was very warm earlier, but rocking the brand new Father's Day or birthday. I don't remember which. I got a few things, and I don't know which one was supposed to be what. But anyways, if you're watching, you can see it's a Powerline basketball jersey. It's got 95 for the year a Goofy movie came out. And on the back, it says Powerline, and it says Eye to Eye. So, yeah, it just came in the mail today, so I was very excited to get it and wear it for you on your birthday.
There we go. Well, I have no idea what anything about that jersey is, but I appreciate it. And
you don't know a Goofy movie?
No, I never saw it. Nope, never saw a Goofy movie.
Well, what are you going to do for your birthday? Make me feel better here.
What am I going to do? My wife got me a Twilight golf time. So we're going to go, we have a date night tonight. So she's going to drive me around in the cart and I'm going to go golf and drink. So it's going to be fun. Fun little birthday.
That sounds like an awesome birthday. And you've got your own designated driver on the course. What's your handicap? I'm a terrible golfer off the tee. I can't hit off the tee for my life. My mid game is really good, and my putting game's about average. But what's your strength, and do you have a handicap?
I was good at golf before I had a child. I was a 6 handicap before I had a kid, and then after having a kid, you don't golf as much, and so slowly it regresses. I shot an 86 a couple weeks ago in Vegas, so I'm hoping for somewhere in that mid 80s range now.
Awesome.
I can hit the shit out of the ball off the tee, and I can't putt for a lick. That's my putting is my issue.
We have talked about that we actually think if in a scramble we could actually hang with Aaron and Jared, who were both high school golfers and very good. And Jared still until recently lived on a golf course, so they're good together. But I think if we could pair up, our strengths paired together are much better than each of us separately.
Look at that. Just a classic Magic Mike trope there, right?
Together, and speaking of classic stronger. Magic Mike, we're back at Canterbury. It's our annual return trip to Canterbury Park when we the racing around the rest of the country is kind of slow. And so it's like, hey, Canterbury Park, home of the 10% takeout on the Pick 5. Hell yeah, let's do it. Couple fun stakes races today too.
Yeah, I got to say, if you haven't looked at the card, you're going to see a lot of names in the turf sprint race and be kind of surprised about it because it's not a stakes. It's a $40,000 allowance. And so it's interesting that we've got a bunch of names that are going to sound familiar. And then in what I guess is the feature $100,000 race over the turf, a really interesting decision point, right? Because you either have to go one of two directions, and we went opposite directions in that race as well.
All right, let's get into it. It's the late Pick 5 at Canterbury Park on Saturday, June 22nd. It's the Northern Stars Turf Festival. It's Riders Up. All right, Mike, here's the first leg of the Canterbury Park late Pick 5 on Saturday, June 22nd. Race 4, we've got 8 older males, if I can count correctly here. 9 older males. They have either not won in 2024 or else have never won for a lifetime. They're going to go 6 furlongs on the dirt at the 5K claiming level. There's the correct field. Where'd you go on top?
Give me the 8-horse, Johnny Up. If you don't know about Canterbury, you're going to learn a lot about McLean Robinson here. One of the trainers who specifically focuses on Canterbury. This is one of his horses. You'll note he hasn't run since last year at Canterbury. It's kind of a normal thing for Robinson horses. A lot of times they will only come to Canterbury, only run at Canterbury. 18% here at this track, 8% everywhere or across the entire year. So clearly runs a lot better here at Canterbury. And this horse loves this racetrack. Ran here 12 times, has 4 wins in 3 seconds, including winning the last 3 races. I'm not worried about coming off the layoff. Like I said, it's something you kind of see traditionally here is Robertson off the layoff. And the setup here is beautiful for Johnny Up. There's quite a bit of speed in here. I didn't use a horse because of how much speed there was in this spot. And I think one maybe that you may have on top. I know we're going to talk about the Fuentes brothers, or specifically one of them, quite a bit here. But I thought Johnny Up gets the setup here. I don't mind the layoff, like I said, and I loves the racetrack, loves the distance. It fits at this level, not in for a tag because of the claiming rules as well. All of it positives for me. So we're going to go with the 8, Johnny Up, 9-2 on the morning line.
Yeah, we agreed on one horse this race, and this is it. Wasn't my top pick, but I still felt very strongly about this horse, just like you. He's a Minnesota bred, so yeah, you can run him in the winter, or you can bring him back fresh for the Minnesota bred races at Canterbury, which have that nice little state incentive boost into the purses. Also, he's got the 5-pound jockey, bug jockey Serafin Carmona aboard. Serafin and Mac Robertson together, 36% at the meet so far. I believe that's 5 for 14 with a 381 ROI. So it's not just heavy favorites. And you see this horse's last 3 races when he was on that nice 3-race win streak here. He was 90 cents, 80 cents, $1.60. So the public betting him a lot back then. I think at 92 holds, this is going to be a great price. The other horse I'm using, it's got the Fuentes. The Fuentes who's still riding at Canterbury, Louise. That's the number 3 West Island at 3-1. Source is running first off the claim for Esteban Martinez, who at this meet specifically, it hasn't been going great for him. He's only 1 for 16, but the horses are kind of running. He's 6 for 16 in the money, and overall, he's a much better trainer than this at similar tracks. He's also 33% first off the claim with a positive ROI, and Luis Fuentes, I'm using him a lot on this sequence. He's 28% at the meet. He's one of the better jockeys up here. He's been coming to Canterbury for the last few years. He knows the track well, and he seems to really be riding great races right now. So I went with the 3. Was it the price that scared you away on him?
It was a couple things. So the price definitely part of it. Stepping up in class a little bit as well. Now got claimed out of the 7,500, but won the 2 races at sprint, or won the races sprinting at Hawthorne at the $5,000 level, and then came to the 7,000 level as a 30-cent favorite and lost. So staying at this level, but lost last time out. Other issue for me is claiming off of Ravelli. That's a tough thing to do, to be able to kind of keep that form going here. West Island claimed out of the Ravelli barn last time. Now, Martinez is very good off the claim. So if you're going to try it with anyone, to me, this is the one you try it with. But when you combine the speed that I think a lot of other horses in this race possess, with the fact that you're claiming off Ravelli and the fact that we're still at this 75-50 level, and I don't really love Hawthorne from a talent perspective. Plus, if you really go back, it's just those last 2 races that put him in this. Anything prior to that really isn't good enough to be able to win. I guess his maiden breaking score is. But it's just too many factors at 3-1. I think this is the horse that gets bet down to. I think this ends up being your favorite when they break from the gate. And all of those factors combined kind of left the 3 West Island off my ticket. I am surprised you didn't.
Sorry, can I interrupt you real quick? Just because you brought up something that interested me. Claiming off of Larry Ravelli in the last 5 years, they win 21%, which is good. But Larry Ravelli overall is 29%, so it's a downgrade from the horses. But it's not. There's like an 8% difference in his normal win rate. Also, he's 29% in the last 5 years. Like, that's insane. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, the 29%. Honestly, 21 is higher than I thought it would have been. So that's not terrible, but like you said, it is a little bit of a drop off. And the speed here with the rest of the horses kind of put me over the top. So I avoided West Island. I'm surprised you didn't use the morning line favorite, the 9 Astronaut Oscar, all the way on the outside. This horse feels like it's a drop in class from where we were. I mean, you look at the 3-back was claimed out of a $5,000 race at Tampa. I'd say that's about on par for 7,550 or 7,500 claimers here. Ran pretty well in that. The race 2-back lost to Yes, I'm a Beast. Pretty good claiming horse there, or optional allowance horse at Tampa, or optional claiming horse at Tampa. Sorry. Yeah. Ended up finishing 4th in that race. Wasn't really bet. Came to Canterbury, ran against $10,000 optional claimers. Was not in for a tag. I thought ran okay considering, and it was at 5.5 furlongs, which I don't think is this horse's best distance. Now we stretch back out to 6. This horse can pass horses, but also can be forwardly placed. I think the draw helps the 9 Astronaut Oscar quite a bit. Should be able to just sit outside and then be able to make a run. Padilla, another one that does well here. This horse has 7 wins over the track and 25 efforts. Astronaut Oscar just fits to me, and you get Quinones as well, who's consistently one of the best jockeys here, year in and year out at Canterbury. So 8-9 were my top 2. You didn't use the 9. How deep did you end up going here?
I just went the 2 deep, and if either of the horses I used scratch, I'll probably throw this horse in. He's got back races that fit, and my concern is that there's been a precipitous drop off in his top buyer over his last 6 races. Um, or I should say 6 races ago, it was 76. He was hitting that mid 70s range like every other start. And then now these last 5 starts, it's like the best he did was 69, which is nice, but he was 5th beaten 2.25. So I'm worried that at age 8, he's tailing off. This is a class drop. I agree with you on that. Last time at the claiming level, like where he was up for sale, that buyer should fit here, but I'm just worried that he's going the wrong direction here.
Yep, that's fair. And then last time for me, I went 3 deep, was the 6 Blue Skies and Angels here, 8-1 on the morning line. This is a horse where this to me is mainly a class play, right? Came out of Remington Park, $35,000 N1Xs, went into Will Rogers Downs, ran at $25,000 allowances, then went to the turf at Canterbury, and now is getting back onto the dirt after running that $10,000 turf race. Now we're getting back onto the dirt, going 6 furlongs. I think this race sets up again pretty well for Blue Skies and Angels. I think this one's going to be overlooked. Helps bring up the price here from the pick 5 perspective. So we'll take 8-1 on the 6 Blue Skies and Angels, who's the other dropper in my mind.
I think that 6 has got a good chance to hit the board at a nice price. I didn't get as far as going for a win, but you're going to get a good price on. I think you'll get every bit of that 8-1. One thing we haven't talked about yet, and I saw that Car Ramrod brought up, is that there is a high percentage that it's at least going to be wet. I'm hoping that the stakes races on turf stay on the turf, but there is a chance that a very good chance of at least an off-going or soft turf, muddy, the dirt. So if they go onto the onto the mud for this race, is there anyone that kind of stands out? I think the 8 still, I know he's over 3 not hitting the board on wet dirt, but those were all much higher. I think it was like $25,000 and 12.5 claimers. Like it was a much higher class.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't be worried about the 8. It's interesting. No one has won a race over a sloppy track in this entire field. So it kind of makes you wonder, okay, where do you really want to go? And there's no big time Tomlinsons. The 8 actually is the biggest Tomlinson rating. The 4, I think, it's a little more interesting. Goose Drink Wine, 437 Tomlinson. Oxbow, obviously a very good muddy sire. So I guess the 4 gets a little interesting, but I'm not sure it really changes any of the picks just because I wasn't high on the 4 coming into this. I don't want to necessarily flip just because of the off track. How about you?
Yeah, those are the ones I was thinking of as well. And also the 3 just with the Speightstown lineage, Speightstown monies. You think about Oaklawn when it gets wet. It's like play those horses. So, but again, that one's 3-1. So you got to be careful taking that price. Let's move on to the second leg of the late pick 5 at Canterbury Park on Saturday, June 22nd. Race 5. It's a $40,000 handicap for 10 older horses, hopefully sprinting 5 furlongs on the turf. Where'd you go on top?
I thought this race was kind of tough because it was the question of do you take the back class of horses or do you decide to go with whoever is running the best at the moment? And I ended up going with the 6 horse in here, the Alligator Hunter on top. Again, this one, a race where you're seeing tons of speed come from it. And so I think it sets up well for someone who wants to be able to sit off the pace. Now, the Canterbury turf generally plays towards speed, so you're playing with fire a little bit by taking horses that you think are going to be able to close. The Alligator Hunter, when he's been on turf, has been pretty good. He's run over this turf course at Canterbury 3 times, has 2/3 in those efforts, all of them in stakes efforts, though. So I'm not overly worried about that. Did get beat by Plain Talk in this race, I think it was last year. But the setup here is what I'm looking for. I want a horse that's able to show speed and that can kick in. Padilla knows how to win races here at Canterbury. You've got Quinones up in the saddle. And again, the trip is what I'm looking for. I want a horse that can sit close but be able to kick. That's what the Alligator Hunter does best. So I'll take Alligator Hunter here at 92.
Yeah, I use this horse as well. So you went 3 deep, and I did use all 3 of them. So we agree on this one. Tim Padilla, Alonzo Quinones, they team up together. They're 23% at Canterbury Park. So really solid jockey trainer angle. Next one, I think the next 2 we're going to talk about are going to be all class horses that are they're just trying to right the ship and get things back on track. Let's go with the real horse. Arrest Me Ready is your 5-2 favorite. Should be the favorite when they go off. It's Wesley Ward turf sprinting, and it's at Canterbury Park of all places. So this horse started the 6-year-old campaign in the Forego Stakes. He was on the synthetic at Turfway Park. You got me thinking Turf Paradise now. And the top 3 finishers all won next out, including this horse. It was optional claimers, but it was a good effort. And it seems like 6-5 was probably a really beautiful price. But again, who was second? Outador. Outador won next out. Smokin' Jay was third. Smokin' Jay won next off. And he kind of beat them handily. Last race, first off, he didn't break very cleanly. He was stuck very wide, never involved in the race, and Cogburn broke the world record. So like in his next start at Belmont at the Big A. So a really good horse that just beat the shit out of him in that race. So I didn't want to play him on top. I'm not sure about the rail positioning here, but David Flores, this guy retired. Guy was riding grade 1 winners. I think he topped out at like 12 million in purses made one year. Really amazing jockey. He retired and he's come back and ridden Wesley Ward 5 times this year. So he's back to ride a couple here at Canterbury.
Yeah, this was a really tough horse of what to do. Because like Arrest Me Red is by far the best horse in this field if you believe in the class, right? I mean, just been in a lot of better races. I guess we'll talk about Bad Beat Brian in a second, the other really class dropper here. But that last race was bad. And you're right, did not break very well, didn't get a very good trip, was the 11th or 14th gate anyway, which isn't a great thing to do when you're sprinting 5.5 at Churchill. Just a really interesting spot that Arrest Me Red lands here. I think the reason Arrest Me Red is here is because of the horse we're going to talk about in the 8th or 7th race as well, who is in this spot for Wesley Ward. I think they kind of came as a pair, and Ward was like, well, I'm going to ship one. I'll just ship them both. And I think that's why Arrest Me Red lands in this spot. I think he runs pretty well. And again, he has the right style to win this race. He doesn't need the lead, but he has tactical speed. The rail draw a little concerning for me because I'm not sure you want to be in 4th or 5th. And I think that's probably where he is around the backstretch and into the top of the turn because there's going to be speed in front of him. And I don't think he's on the lead. So we'll see what trip Flores can work out with Arrest Me Red. One of those horses where I'm going to use him, but I don't absolutely love him here. I didn't have him on top either. The trip, I think, is going to be really interesting to see what he can do. Second for me was all the way on the outside. Bad Beat Brian, the 10 horse here. Another horse that kind of I've enjoyed chasing at bigger numbers. Kind of bummed we end up in this spot and we're 4-1 now because the price shrinks down significantly from what we've seen the last 3 races at 13, 34, and 33-1. Ran pretty good. 3 back, and that was in the Shakertown. Then he runs back in that the turf sprint there at Churchill, same race that Arrest Me Red's coming out of, and just got an awful trip. Like if you go back and you watch it, it just got absolutely squeezed out when he was when I think there was a top of the turn, and so you never really had a chance to run in that one. Bad Beat Brian, another one who can sit close, but also has somewhat of a kick, probably the least of the kick of the 3 horses that I'm using in this race, but this again is the class play to me. Like a lot of times I like to take 1 or 2 of those local horses. The local horses just seem like they are in a world of trouble. Like, Plain Talk, a horse that's run over his turf 9 times, has hit the money in this race last year. Like, it just seems like a tall ask for him to be able to hold on. He's got a bunch of speed signed on. The 4 horse is going to want to go. The 3 horse is going to want to go. Of all the locals, the 2 was the one that was most interesting to me. It was actually the last off my ticket, Jack's Outlaw. That would be the one that I would kind of be like, oh, maybe I want to use that. And you did use that horse.
Not only that, he's my top pick in the race.
Woo, boy.
Yeah. I'm playing the 1 in 10 more defensively just because of that class. And it's like they got races recently that fit that can make them the winner, especially the 1. If he gets anywhere close to that, if he gets close to that old form, he's squarely the one to beat here. By the way, another stat real quick I forgot to mention, David Flores, because I was very curious about Flores riding. Before he retired, he rode 10 times for Wesley Ward in 2021. He had 6 wins. He was 6 for 10 riding for Wesley Ward in 2021. And the 7th one ran a really close second. So he's 0 for 5 this year with hitting the board for Ward. But previous time he rode for him, they were kicking some serious ass. So anyways, the 2, Jack's Outlaw here. He's won his last 2. And I know that the 2 back, it was a route race at Turf Paradise. And he was up for sale in an optional claimer 12K race. And then last time out, it was over this course and distance. And he was up for sale in an optional claimer 20K race. And nobody took him in either spot. But he's in 4 starts at this track. He's got a win. He's got a second. He's got 2/3. He's 2 for 4 at this distance, even though he spent most of his career routing. And when you put Jose Silva Jr. and Fausto da Silva together, they're 31% at Canterbury with the 246 ROI. I think the fact that he's just got this hot hand that he doesn't need the lead to win, I think he really stands out at 5-1 here. Again, I respect the class of the 1 and the 10 and even the 6 for what he can do at this course. I just really, really fell in love with the 2 here.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's all about whether or not you believe that this too is going to be able to step up, right? That's the big question here. And I like, if you look at this race in the past, like it's a $40,000 handicap. It does not usually draw this tough, right? And this race is very, very tough for Jack's Outlaw, because if you take out the 1 and the 10, the 2 is probably my top pick in this race. But with both of them, man, it is a tall task to think Jack's Outlaw is going to be able to kind of continue that win streak. However, I don't blame you. I mean, look, that last 5 furlong race at Canterbury, I thought was a very good race, one of the best of his career, even at 7 years old. He probably needs to take a step forward off that. And that to me was the biggest concern here, is that you got to take a step forward off a career best effort at 7, or not career best, but one of the career best efforts that we've seen from this horse at 7. Again, this is the last horse off my ticket, so I'm not going to knock it. But I do think it's 1, 2, 6, 10 is the absolute deepest you probably need to go in this spot.
Yeah, I had considered the 7, but we need a lot of speed to scratch out of here for him to have that shot.
Be able to hold. Yeah.
Yeah. Third leg of the Canterbury Late Pick 5, Saturday, June 22nd, race 6. It's the Brooks Fields Mile Stakes. I hate that double S there. Brooks Mile Stakes for 9 older males and 1 main track only entry, going 8 furlongs on the turf. I hope. Where'd you go on top?
Another one, hopefully we stay on the turf here. Another one, I thought a lot of speed signed up, and it really kind of puts the 8 Golden Bandit behind the 8 ball. Because of that, give me the 5 horse. That's Not Funny on top here. This horse I thought looked phenomenal. First in the Rosenborn, first time in the Rosenborn, first time coming back as a 5-year-old on June 2nd. Was able to run by a lot of these at a price at 13-1. A little worried wedding funeral, but was impressed with the step up there first off the bench. And now you get second off the bench. If you look back to last year, this horse took a huge step forward. Second time off the layoff. I'm hoping we can take that similar step forward here in the 5-year-old season that we did in the 4-year-old season. If we do, this could be a big time run here from That's Not Funny. The price still right at 6-1, even though we are coming off a 13-1 winner. Look at the trainers' numbers as well. 10 stakes races, won 2 of 10, but a $6.86 ROI. That's pretty darn good. When their horse won the last start, 19% win rate on the next start, $2.49 ROI. So 2 numbers that I like there from Rosin, and I think this is a beautiful setup here for That's Not Funny to be able to run him down late due to all the pace. So put the 5 That's Not Funny on top at 6-1. Where'd you go?
So I used 2 horses and you used both of them. You went 3 deep here. And I was looking at this the same way you did. This is going to set up beautifully for closers. You went with the 5 on top. I went with the 2 Kennebec on top at 5-1. Jose Silva Jr. is going to put another horse another time them and use one of his horses here. Since he got back into Jose Silva's barn and he was at Turf Paradise, look at these wins. Now, Turf Paradise, the dirt and the turf because of the weather are super speed favoring. And so for this horse to come from 14 lengths off last, 6.5 lengths off last, beat horses, won a couple of small. It's crazy that he wanted a mile, then a mile and 3/8, and then a mile and 7/8. But this horse has just got a motor. You put him in the stretch and you say go, and Brian Pena, who comes up here to ride him for this race, just goes, yeah, just go, baby, go. So this is so cool. It's such a cool horse for what he's turned into, because I remember he was at Golden Gate and always seemed to run well. I think he was a best bet win for me, and those 2 wins at Golden Gate, those last 2 he had were both best bet wins for me. So he's here, and I love that he's still doing well here at age 6.
Yeah, look, this one's definitely a threat. You mentioned how there's absolutely no pace in a lot of those, or how well speed holds in a lot of those races. He's still able to run him down in all 3. I worried the water gets a little deeper here. The turf horse is generally not great, even though it's called Turf Paradise down there in Arizona. So worried that we're stepping up a little bit in class, but still makes a ton of sense at 5-1. And again, the pace should set up very, very well for Kennebec. Also a little concerned we're going a little short. Now has won at a mile multiple times, but the last 2 races, both at a mile and 3/8. Those were the 2 stakes races that he won. Now we're cutting back to a mile. Like I said, does have multiple wins at the distance, so not a huge concern, but wondering if maybe he would be better off if this were a little bit longer here in this spot. But did like Kennebec. He was 3rd on for me. Second for me was the 7 horse, Xavier Dave. I think it's Xavier Dave.
Yep.
This is one where you kind of have to dig through the past performances, but if you really just isolate the turf races, pretty darn good. It's a 5-year-old now, but if you go back to 2022, when this horse was 2 best races, both on the turf, 2 nice efforts over this turf course, and then goes to the Hollywood Derby, Switches back to the McLean Robinson barn, runs twice here at Canterbury, including a second effort on the turf, and then switches barns, runs another nice turf effort here at Canterbury. Hasn't been back on the turf since. And this is a horse by Temple City, like the Temple City sireage from a turf perspective. He's 2 for 4 at the distance, 2 for 5 over the Canterbury turf, hit the board 4 times over this Canterbury turf course. And I have 2 kind of more dead closers in both the 5 and the 2. The 7's going to sit closer to the pace, but still wants to come from just off it. So the pace should set up well for the 7 and maybe get a little bit better trip than both the 2 and the 5 as well, because it's going to be a little bit closer to it. So I went 2, 5, 7 to get through here. 5 to 1, 6 to 1, 6 to 1. Not a terrible race to try and get through with prices. And I know you're doing the same thing with 2 horses at 5 to 1, 6 to 1.
Yeah, and the 7 was one that I was kind of considering. My ticket would have gotten too expensive here, so I cut him out. But we're both against the 8 Golden Bandit, who's your 5 line favorite. He's 3 for 3 at Canterbury Park, including winning the Canterbury Derby in his first start versus winners. He broke his maiden in his turf debut. Like, Brad Cox had this horse and never thought, like, oh, he might be a good turf horse. And like shows up in Cody Rosin's barn and he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna put you on the turf, and off we go. He's 7 for 12 at the meet, including that win with this horse back on June 13th, which is crazy. This horse is magic here, but the problem is he's breaking from post 8. It's a short run into that first turn, and there's a lot of other speed that he's going to have to contend with. And he's won from a pressing position, but he's never won from off of the pace before.
Yeah, I would expect that the three drama chorus and the 4 silent poet make his life very difficult going into that first turn. And because it's a mile, you don't have a ton of time going into the first turn either. So unless Golden Bandit absolutely quarter horses out of the gate, he is going to be multiple wide and probably not in the lead. And that's going to be something where it's going to be like, okay, well, what can we do if that's the case? And you go back and you're like, well, he didn't make the lead in the Canterbury Derby last year, or going 7.5 furlongs over this turf course. No, he didn't. But those are fields of 5 and 6, and not nearly as good as what we're facing today. To me, that it's a step up from when you're pointing back to when he didn't make the lead and when he was able to stalk. So I think the water's a little bit deeper from this post position than what we've seen in the past when he hasn't made the lead.
I have a feeling the 6 might scratch Deflated. The horse is 9 years old, 56 career starts. Only 2 of them have ever been on turf, and the last one was last July in a sprint here. He was one that if he somehow stayed in, I think would be a big pace presence, but he is cross-centered in a race on, I believe that's Sunday, right? Yeah, it'll be Sunday. So they're probably hoping that this race will turn up to be a dirt race, and then in which case then he'll probably run. But if this is going to somehow magically stay on turf, yeah, this horse is going to scratch, right?
Yeah. I think Deflator is a main track only entry entered in the main box, right?
Not sure why they did that, but okay.
Or we'll just take a swing here, and if we end up in, great. If not, we'll deal with it.
Yeah. All right. The penultimate leg of the Canterbury Park late pick 5 on Saturday, June 22nd. Race 7 is the $50,000 Canterbury Derby. 7 3-year-old Colts and Geldings routing a mile on the turf. Where'd you go on top, buddy?
This is a pretty simple question. What do you do with Navy SEAL? And this is where I think I mentioned earlier, you kind of have to make the decision. Are you going with Navy SEAL? Are you going against him? To me, this is one of those classic, you're either singling Navy SEAL or you're completely chucking him out, because he either is the best horse by open lengths here, or you don't want any part of him on your ticket because he's the favorite. And I don't disagree with him being the favorite. I think it makes sense. You're going into the Wesley Ward barn. This was an O'Brien horse. But it was O'Brien, right? Not Appleby. Yeah, it was O'Brien horse.
Yeah, it was O'Brien. Yep.
Before this race, one that was on, I guess we'll call it the Triple Crown Trail, because he did run in the UAE Derby, ended up running 5th in that race. Before that, was favored in an allowance race, but prior to that was in a Group 1 and Group 2. In both France and Ireland, was the favorite in the Group 2. Now, those were only 6 and 7 horse fields, so not very deep fields. Didn't win either of those races. But, I mean, look, this horse is really well bred. DeBowie, like $445,000 stud fee now, which is freaking wild that DeBowie is $445,000. We talk about Into Mischief being $250,000.
Sport of Kings, baby. Sport of Kings.
Unbelievable. Camelot on the bottom. So this horse is just bred to love turf. The Ward part of it is what got me. It just feels like Ward put some speed in this horse, and there's not a ton of pace. And if Ward does put speed into Navy SEAL and just goes from the rail, I don't think anyone catches him. And so for me, it's all about whether or not we see more pace out of Navy SEAL early than we did before the Ward barn. I think we do. If we do, I think this is by far the class of the field. So I ended up singling the one Navy SEAL. However, if I didn't single Navy SEAL, I would not have used Navy SEAL because it really is a yes or no question for me.
Yeah. And really, I think I meant to mention this earlier. If I had singled Navy SEAL, we would have been exactly in line in the previous race because I could have afforded to put the 7 on there at 6-1. But instead, because I'm not singling, I'm going 3 deep here. Top pick for me. Oh, wait, real quick. The Dam for Navy SEAL. It's Athena. If you remember, this is the Aiden O'Brien horse that came over and won the Belmont Oaks 6 days after she was third in a Group 1 against older horses in Ireland. Like, do you remember when that happened? He shipped her over here for the Belmont Oaks, and she went off at 10-1 because we all went. She like if you think about the shipping, there's a day, so they probably left 5 days before the race. She's gonna be quarantined for 2 days, so she doesn't even get out to stretch her legs till 2 days before the race, and she goes out there and wins a Group 1 by open lengths at 10-1. Anyways,
really well bred.
That was yes, extremely well bred horse. Sorry, yeah, but because I'm like, why would they get rid of this horse? Why did they sell this horse off if they didn't think might be able to do something as a 3-0? But hey, maybe it's Coolmore. Maybe that's just for them. It's the best of the best, sir. And this horse could clearly just be the best of this group. Top pick for me, the number 6 Illustrator. It's a 5-2 second choice. This horse has got tactical speed to be close. We both saw this as a kind of a paceless race. This horse has been very close in pressing before, and actually that's how he broke his main at Remington Park, as he sat second, half a length off, and then went off to win by 11 lengths. But he also, if somebody decides to speedball out there, he's shown that he can pass horses very willingly and get by them. And he's got the win 2 races back, which was second off the left. He's now going to be second off the layoff again here. So I think another one he's a grandson of Dubawi, so he's still got some of that good mixture in there. And then Palace Malice for some good old USA on the Dam side. I think this is a well-bred horse for the spot. Not of the absolute Coolmore variety, but still good. So I made him the top choice. And then the second choice for me, I went to the number 3, Hold Your Applause. The last 2 turf races, broke the maiden. It was only a 59 buyer, but he did it by open lengths at Turf Paradise. And then he appeared last time out, and he had another open length win. Both of it came from off the pace, but specifically his last race, it was on yielding turf. This horse showed that you give me some soft, wet ground, I'm going to fly on it. So he seemed to do well on it. He's a son of Oscar Performance. He's got Unbridled Song on the Dam side. So I went 6-3 for my top 2 picks in here.
The 3 was my second choice. The 6 would have been my third choice. So if I had not used the 1, the 3 and the 6 would have been the next 2. I think the 3 might sneaky be the speed too. I realized that kind of seems weird because the last 2 races going a mile and 70 yards didn't really show much of it. But the 3 prior races, all on dirt, was going 22, 46s. So there is more speed in Hold Your Applause than you saw the last 2 races. So I wouldn't be shocked if Hold Your Applause ends up being the speed if Navy SEAL doesn't do anything.
Well, and that's why I ended up using the 4 as my last horse in here, because I thought this one coming out of 2 sprints might be the speed as well. You look when he broke his maiden at Turf Paradise, he was right up attending the pace at 22.5, 45.5. That kind of speed absolutely is the leader here. And I think because of Luis Fuentes being such a smart jockey here, again, 28% at the meet right now, he might just step right on the gas. Like the gate will open, he's just going to say, go get to the lead and try and slow him down on the backside. So I'm going to use him. Also, it's worth noting that he did actually beat my second pick in here, Hold Your Applause, by a length and a quarter in the past. So again, that was on dirt. But he has faced this horse well and beaten him.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the 4. I can see the angle though of what you're looking for. It's like if it's not the 1, if the Ward doesn't put speed in the 1, who goes is a big question mark in this race because it could be Illustrator, could be Hold Your Applause. I like the 2 a little bit. If I was going to go 3 deep, I would have used the 2 Bourbon Aficionado. I thought that last race was a little better than it looked on the turf and broke its maiden on the turf. They actually debuted the horse at 5 furlongs turf sprinting. And you go back and you watch the last, clearly had some issues in that race. So I would be on the 2 as the third horse if I was going to use anybody. But I don't dislike the 3 or the 6 there. And the speed is going to be a big question here. I think Nick's asked a good question, like 3 to 5 on the 1. That to me is the reason why you're singling the 1 or you're not using the 1. You really can't go like 3 deep here and use the 1, 3, 6. Like you really have to take a stand either with or against the 1 here. Magic going against, I'm taking a stand with.
All right, let's move on. The fifth and final leg at Canterbury Park on Saturday, June 22nd, in the late pick 5. The eighth and final race is an allowance for non-winners of 2 if you're open company, or non-winners of 3 other than if you're a Minnesota bred. Kind of a cool little condition here. They're all boys 3 and up. They're sprinting 5.5 furlongs on the main track. Where'd you go on top?
Give me the number 4 horse, Kentucky. This is a horse that I am basically playing because of where we were running previously. Now, it's the $30,000 allowance. You mentioned the conditions that are unique. This is not one of those horses that was bred in Minnesota, but Kentucky last 3 all against much better. Breaks the maiden at $30,000 at Oakland Park, jumps right into an $80,000 optional claimer, runs pretty well over the slop, by the way, which could be relevant this weekend. Then comes back and faces $140,000 N2L. Good luck. Way too high of a class level there for the 4. Now we're dropping back into what's much more reasonable on Kentucky. You're getting 6-1. Don't love the trainer. We're 4 for 111 this year. Not great. But interestingly enough, these two teaming up at Canterbury over the last 2 years, Klein and Haar, 14% over 65 efforts. So much better numbers when you are at Canterbury, not at Oakland, and when you get Haar. So that's enough for me to get on board with the 6-year Kentucky, who is, 6-1 on the morning line? Yeah, 6-1 on the morning line, dropping in class.
We played this horse for the exact same reason. That good third in the first start versus winners. Second place horse was a multiple stakes winner named Sweet Saudi J. And I like that Kentucky showed a great willingness to pass horses and late, right? Like it was 4th, beaten 8.5 lengths, and then ended up being 3rd, beaten 2 lengths. So closed 6.5 lengths in the slop at Oakland. That's sneaky good effort there that a lot of people are going to overlook. Yeah, the price is different, but we're paying for the horse leaving Oakland to come to Canterbury. That's what that is. Willing to eat that one. I think this horse will still be a little ignored. Top pick for me was the number 6 Baxley at 3-1. It's Larry Ravelli. He's 1 for 2 at the meet with a close second as well. Good start for Larry Ravelli. He's 50%. Yeah, not too bad. This horse absolutely dominated maidens on debut at Hawthorne. Now, it was 2-year-olds at Hawthorne. It's not supposed to be the cream of the crop. But he dominated them by 5.5 lengths. Got a really nice buyer. It was a good time, 57-4, just under 58. And then he went to Keeneland. And Ravelli thought that much of this horse. He was like, we're going to go to Keeneland. We're going to try this really tough 2-year-old N1X allowance race. And yeah, it was 5th. It was beat half the field, but was 5th, beaten 9 lengths. That race, though, was you had 3 next out winners in that race, and you had a future multiple stakes winner named Valentine Candy who finished 2nd. So a really tough Keeneland race for that period in time that nobody's actually turned out to be anything superb by this time of year. But at the time, it was a really tough spot. The layoff is something to consider, but you can see the sharp works at Hawthorne, 46-1, 46-2. 31% for Ravelli with a positive ROI off of this kind of layoff. He gets Lasix for the first time. The price is going to be low. That's the big thing if you don't want to play him because of the price. But I think this horse is my top pick for a big reason.
Yeah, second pick for me. You hit on the nail on the head and everything. Like, looks great at Hawthorne. They think enough of him to send him to Keeneland. Ran okay. I mean, not great, but ran okay at Keeneland. Now we're getting a much needed class drop from the $100,000 N1X at Keeneland into this $30,000 allowance. So I think fits pretty well. Third for me, I'm going to go for a little bit of a local horse. I think is going to get ignored at the window. The 1 horse Blue Jay Way. This is a horse for David Van Winkle that we saw twice as a 2-year-old last year. Ran 2nd in the maiden special weight debut at Canterbury, then comes back at 90-cent favorite, wins by 10 lengths over a weak field. Not great, but just absolutely ran them off their feet. Now you have this horse coming back off of a 180-day layoff or extended layoff, running back to Canterbury as a 3-year-old. Going to need to improve. But this is the type of horse that sometimes can be scary at Canterbury specifically, where you don't see it for a while and like a full year, and then you wait for Canterbury to come back around, and all of a sudden you've got this 3-year-old, this 4-year-old that has improved a ton. And this is the spot where, like, hey, if someone's going to take a step forward, I think Blue Jay Way has a big shot at doing it. You're going to have to deal with the 6 from a pace perspective, most likely, but drawing the rail, I think, is a positive thing. It's just gun it and go, and we'll see how long we can go with Blue Jay Way. But at 8-1, I'm willing to take a shot here at a price, especially since I'm really interested to see how the outside speed handles. I mean, the 8 probably wants to go. The 6 probably wants to go. The 5 has speed. It's another reason why I like the 4 on top here. But I think the 1 has the opportunity to just go from the rail and just see how long it takes him. So I wanted to include Blue Jay Way 8-1 on the ticket.
It's funny to me how closely or how similarly we saw this sequence, because if I had gone 4 deep, I would have used this horse, and you used all three of the ones that I did. So I ended up backing off one because of price. My ticket would be $108. But two, just because of being inside speed, first time versus winners. You know, there are a couple of the long layoff, couple of things to consider, but you're going to get a good price. And if this horse pops like he did in the maiden win, look out. Also, it's worth noting, even though he was second on debut, he was right there by, second by head, third by neck, second by a length, but he was favored in that race too. Someone thought highly enough, or a lot of people thought highly enough of this horse, and a barn that is right now, 1 for 11 at the meet, with the jockey who's 3 for 60 at the meet. Maybe people look at the stats of the recency and think, oh no, these guys can't do it, but this horse could fire.
Yeah. Valenzuela ridden this horse twice. The two of them teamed up for 21% win percentage as well. So it's not like they can't win together. And you mentioned David Van Winkle. He's 1 for 11, but he's got 4 horses that have run second or third. 3 horses run second, 1 third. So it feels like racing luck involved in that 1 for 11. 14% trainer overall in 2024. So I expect it to turn around for Van Winkle there.
Last horse we are both going to use, it's the number 5 Quality Rags, who I believe is a 5-2 morning line favorite. Never outside the exacta in 4 career starts. A really consistent horse. Was managed to be top speed at Turf Paradise on that superhighway main track, and it's gonna be second time out for Valerie Lund, who similarly to David Van Winkle is 1 for 16 at the meet, but 4 seconds and a third. Horse is running well for Valerie Lund. She's usually a higher percentage at Canterbury than that. She gets Luis Fuentes. I should text Ruben after this and say, if your brother doesn't have a good day Saturday, I'm not having a good day, because I'm using him a lot. This horse has got speed and is consistent at this track at similar foes here. So I think he fits. And if it's not a stakes race, this is a good logical spot. I like that Valerie runs, like, not rushing him into stakes company off of his consistent efforts.
Yeah, the horse fits, right? Like, this is your most consistent horse. The 6 horse we're assuming is going to run back to that first start. The 4 horse is dropping in class, but the 5 horse is just kind of trucked along, and he's going to show up with this effort. The question is whether or not anyone else is going to run a better race than the 5, because you kind of know what you're going to get from Quality Rags. Favoritism is going to be interesting. I kind of feel like it's the 6 Baxley, not the 5 Quality Rags, who ends up going off the favorite here. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think the buyer from the debut was high. It's Ravelli. I think the 6 probably does, because you've got a high percentage trainer who's just a tiny tick off of a low percentage trainer. The public's probably going to switch that around.
Yeah, and again, Valerie Lund, not a low percentage trainer at Canterbury usually, but so far has been this year, and so maybe that's the final factor of this.
What did you think about the 8? You got a high percentage jockey, high percentage trainer. They do well together, but this horse is outside speed and hasn't really shown a lot of desire to pass.
Yeah, to me, that was the big issue. Now, it has had success over the track, 1 for 3 with a second place finish as well. Won the $100,000 Northern Lights Futurity last year over this track, going 6 furlongs. Didn't love either race at Delta. Was able to win the second of the 2, and that was over a muddy track. So maybe on an off track, you want to pay a little bit more attention to the 8. Issue for me is got to improve, right? Got to improve to be able to beat this group, and is a 3-year-old trying to do so. Now, you got quite a few 3-year-olds in here, but the 5 is a 4-year-old. The 3 is a 4-year-old. The 2 is a 6-year-old. So you do have a couple older horses. And when you're like banking on dead improvement from a horse, and that last race to me just kind of left something to be desired at this level, and did it against Quality Rags, who beat him pretty handily there. Like, are we going to be able to flip the script? I'm not so sure. And I think it feels like this horse just wants to go against this group. And I don't love the outside post for that specific style. I think there's so much more speed drawn on.
The 3 is kind of another one I looked at. I was like, well, you've got potential, but I also don't like this distance for the 3. We went 6.5, which is 2 turns at the bull ring at Delta Downs, and then 7 furlongs at Evangeline out of the chute. So good efforts, but this feels like almost like we're at Canterbury first time for Gary Shearer, just to get used to the track and surroundings, and then probably go 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs a mile next time out.
Yeah, the 3 was interesting to me. I looked at this one for a while. Every right to take a pretty decent step forward, right? I mean, this is a 4-year-old second off the layoff, and second off a very, very long layoff. I mean, the win at Evangeline, I think, was really impressive and was 30-1 that day, because this horse hadn't run since January 20th, 2023, right? So it'd been over a year layoff, coming back as a 4-year-old, and ran really well to be able to win that day at 30-1. Now the price is 9-2, and to me that was kind of the factor here. If I was getting 10-1, 12-1 on the 3, I think you can get behind it. But dropping from 31 to 9-2, when you're asking the horse to do some more stuff, to me, makes it kind of difficult to get behind Half Brother. But again, Half Brother, another one where if you like that last race quite a bit, I think it's a logical improvement. It's an older horse taking on a bunch of 3-year-olds. I could make a pretty good case for the 3 if I felt like the price is a little better.
It's weird to me that he was running at state bred race at Delaware Park and he's a Minnesota bred. How does that happen? Second career start, state breds, Delaware Park. Huh?
Yeah, there's
you know what it is? That maybe you knew this. There's a rule that if there's less than 7 betting interests entered, a state bred race becomes open.
Oh, no,
and there were 6. There were 7 horses, so that means there were 6 entries. So it became open, and he got in there for the 25K tag.
I do know there are a couple states where if the horse was impregnated or born in that state, they can run as state bred. So, if the horse is impregnated in Delaware, but then the horse is born in West Virginia, they technically qualify for 2 state-bred programs, depending on the state-by-state rules. So I was wondering if that was the case there, because I know that there are some states that are looking for ways to get more horses in the state-bred program.
I don't think it's anybody's business where they did the dirty. Okay, let's just keep that private. All right, we don't need there's a little bit too much Big Brother going on here. That's good. For this episode of Mike Show. Thanks for joining us to talk about the Canterbury Park Late Pick 5 Saturday, June 22nd. If you made it through this whole show and you're wondering why play Canterbury, first of all, thank you for staying with us for 45 minutes and wondering why we were promoting this. They have a 10% takeout. That's the industry low. It's really incredible. They put a lot of effort into these cards, especially this is the Northern Stars Turf Festival. That's what it is. Northern Stars Turf Festival. So hopefully the Turf Festival stays on the turf. Fingers crossed for that one, but we'll give out our tickets one last time for the audio listeners. If you're watching us, take a look down below. I'll start. I'm going to go 3-8 with 1-2-6-10 with 2-5 with 3-4-6 with 4-5-6. That's $72 for 50 cents, birthday boy.
I went a little bit cheaper here. I'm going $54. Give me the 6-8-9 with 1-6-10 with 2-5-7 with 1 with 1-4-5-6 to close it out. $54 for 50 cents.
The really important question: are the Florida Panthers going to cough this up, or are they going to close this out?
I really hope they close it out. I have them.
Bro, what's going on?
I have minus a game and a half, and it's getting a little squirrely on this minus a game and a half plus 160 now. When we were up 3-0, I'm not sure why we're doing this. I mean, I still like them, but man, it's hard to be overly confident the way that they've played the last 2 games. They got to get out a lot earlier. They've got to get out a lot earlier and get out well, because they've been behind the last 2 games, and that's really cost them. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Or what, Daryl? Where's the carryover? 14K pick 5 carryover in less than 10 minutes. Let's see if I can find it.
At this time of day, who's usually starting now? Louisiana? No.
Is it Canterbury or Woodbine? I would guess it's Canterbury or Woodbine, but I don't know which, because it has to be that right.
Canterbury they are running tonight. You're right. Yeah, it's Canterbury.
Churchill's pick 5 carryover would be more than 14,000. That's why I eliminated Churchill.
It's a little track.
It is. Oh, I don't see it. Woodbine's pick 6. I'm not sure which one's carrying over. Anyway, this was the other frustrating part. Doc and I both went 5 of 6 in the pick 6, and both missed different races, and it paid $50,000 at Belmont at the Big A today. That one was pretty frustrating.
Oh,
but, that one was all, especially since Doc texted me and goes, I asked Doc one price he likes. It was the 2 in the last, 2-1 and 11-1 in the last. He asked me who I liked in the race before it. I said 6-7. He ended up not using the 6, and the 6 busted him, but he had the 12 earlier, and I did not. Canterbury is the carryover here per Twin Spires. So may have to do a quick cap on Canterbury here to see if I can get involved. Let's see if it actually shows up. $14,673 carryover, it looks like. Let me get onto Canterbury here and see if it pulls.
While you do that, here's something I wanted to bring up while I brought up the NHL playoffs thing. We've been thinking for a while, the Panthers, especially once Dallas got knocked out, that the Panthers were going to win this. You can get as far as Conn Smythe odds go, you can get Alexander Barkov, the captain of the Panthers, at plus 290. I think after last game, you don't. Bobrovsky's the third choice at plus 800, and I don't think you want to touch him. Connor McDavid is minus 220. Like, Florida could very well win the Cup tomorrow night. Do we really think Connor McDavid's going to win the Conn Smythe regardless?
Yeah,
that hasn't happened since. That hasn't happened since what, Ron Hextall? Oh wait, no, I forgot. Jaguar did it for the Ducks, but like Hextall in '87 was the last one I could remember.
Yeah, it also hasn't happened. Like a non-goalie doing it, I think it's like the 50s, right? It's been forever since the non-goalie has won the Conn Smythe. McDavid has 42 points in the playoffs. Matthew Tkachuk is the highest.
I forgot. I did not realize that. Okay.
Matthew Tkachuk is the highest non-Oiler. He's got 22. He's 20 points ahead of the highest non-Oiler. He has 8 points in the last 2 games. I think it's the first time in since Wayne Gretzky Oilers era where anyone had 2 points in back-to-back finals games. I think it's going to be, no matter what happens, it's going to be Connor McDavid now that it's 3-2.
Yeah. Wow.
42 points in the playoffs.
That I rescind my outrage at that. I didn't realize he was that high.
Yeah, just wild. And then now he's also scoring goals, which is the other part of it, right? Now he's got 8 goals. He had I think it was 2 goals at one point in the last series. So, I think it's going to be very hard to deny Connor McDavid the Conn Smythe. Also, by the way, second in the playoffs and plus minus at plus 11. Like, there's just a bunch of other aspects of it. I'm sorry, third in the playoffs at plus 11. A bunch of other aspects to it where it's like, yeah, he's just had that good of a playoffs. I think it's going to be tough. If they had lost in 4, I don't think he gets it. But because of game 3, 4, and 5 that he had, I think he's going to get it no matter what.
Boy, and it was Bobrovsky's to lose. He was probably minus 500 going in, and oof.
He was minus 500 after game 3. He was plus 105 after game 4, which I was surprised about. Because if Florida wins in 5, he wins the award. And Florida was minus 145 in game 5. So you were getting essentially 50-cent delta there because it wasn't going to be Barkov. It was going to he can have a bad game in the finals and still win the Conn Smythe. But now the way it plays out, I think it's got to be Connor no matter what happens in this spot.
And Chris Mack brings up playoff record is 47 points. I've never wanted. I know Aaron's got a lot riding on Florida future bet, and you might as well. But I would love this to at least go to Game 7, give you guys a good sweat, and let's see. Like, Gretzky has all of these supposedly unbreakable records. Let's see him start going down. Let's see a playoff record for 47 points, and they lose in Game 7 to the Florida Panthers. So, here's your consolation prize for never winning the Stanley Cup. You can have the Conn Smythe.
I mean, with it, if they played 7 games, he would play 25 games in the playoffs. To average almost 2 points a game in the playoffs
is one
of the most absurd things that, like, you could. When you think about that, and you think about the totals are at 5.5, and there was a bunch of unders. Like, to average 2 points a game is absolutely absurd. If the Oilers get out early, I think we're going 7. If whoever scores the first goal, I think wins this game, and that's going to be just the massive key. If you look. Edmonton got the first goal shorthanded about 5-6 minutes into the game. Florida played well, but then they're down 2-0 and 3-0 all of a sudden. You go back, you look at game 4, they go up 2-0, they go up 3-1. Like it just Florida can't fall behind again. They've got to find a way to get the first goal, and Bobrovsky has to play better. So it's going to be fun either way. I'm happy we at least have a series, although my wallet could be a little disappointed because we're going.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18 number 8. If you haven't yet, go wish him a happy birthday on the X machine. Follow the corporate overlords at racing_dudes. Over racingdudes.com, we've got picks up for the Ohio Derby. Aaron goes through the entire field. Really nice salty group there. They also talked about the Ohio Derby on Blinkers Off, which you can catch right now. And then we've got let's see, it's gonna be Ohio Derby exacta bets from Dr. Miranda, I think. And then Vinny went 2 for 4 with a second and a third with his best bets at Backwaduct last week. So he's gonna go back there again. So check all of that over at racingnews.com. Get your free picks, get your Somobombs over there. Mike, have a wonderful rest of your birthday. It sounds like you're gonna have fun. Have a great weekend. And next week, 6th-year anniversary.
It's what year anniversary?
2018 Ohio Derby, baby.
Wow, it's been 6 years. That's crazy.
We recapped it. The first show we ever did, we recapped the Ohio Derby.
Yep, I remember that. Axelrod won, right? Is that right? Or was that
no? Oh wait, yes, because Lone Sailor hung like a sport coat. Yeah.
Yeah, unlike something. Yeah, I always remember how old we are because we're older than my daughter. My daughter was born right after we started the show, and so it always makes it very easy for me to remember. Yeah,
she's gonna be 6.
She's gonna be 6. Yeah, she's gonna be 6 in July. Yeah, crazy.
Oh,
time flies, man.
Holy smokes. The 6-year anniversary didn't make me think time flies. That did. All right. Well, my mind's blown. We're going to be out of here. We'll see you next week for the anniversary show and another late pick 5. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.